Hey folks, this is video number 3 for section 2.2/10.0. I did say that there was only going to be 3 videos, but I made a mistake and had to split one of my videos into 2. So actually there's going to be 4 videos and not just 3 videos. So let's go ahead down. I'm still working on completing the square. So let's go to example number 4 and we'll work through completing the square on this one. Notice that my directions are the same as they were in example number 3, where it says just to give the center and the radius of the circle. The problem here that you'll notice is that my 2 squared terms both have a leading coefficient that is not 1. And my leading coefficient has to be 1 in order to be able to complete the square. So what I'm going to do to fix that is I'm going to divide on both sides by that leading coefficient of 2. When I do that, just don't forget that we have to divide every term by 2. So 2x squared over 2, 2y squared over 2, 2x over 2, and negative 6y over 2, as well as 45 over 2. So just don't forget, you have to share that common denominator with all of the terms. So when I simplify that then, and rearrange, so let's walk through that for just a second. I have an x squared plus an x, okay, so that came from my 2x terms. And then I've also got a y squared minus a 3y, so that came from my 2y terms. And then that's equal to a 45 over 2. I'm going to duplicate that so that I can mess with it. And then we're going to start completing the square. One note on this, you do not need a calculator for this. On this one, fractions are actually easier to work with than decimals are, so I would strongly recommend just working with the fractions. They're not really actually that hard. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to take half of our b term. So half of 1 is half, and then 1/2 squared, or 1/2 times 1/2, is 1/4. So I'm going to add 1/4 to both sides. All right, on the next one, half of the b is going to be negative 3/2. Folks, anytime you've got, you have to take half of a number, just throw it over 2 and you're done. Half of 9 is 9/2. Half of 105 is 105 over 2. So it's really easy actually to do fractions on that and not have to do decimals. So half of my b is negative 3/2. And then I'm going to take my negative 3/2. I'll write this over here on the side. Negative 3/2 times negative 3/2, multiply tops and bottoms, and this is going to give you 9/4. So all I'm going to do then is add 9/4 to both sides. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is let's go ahead and factor our trinomial. Remember, there is a shortcut for factoring the trinomial. So this first part is going to be x plus whatever my half of b was. For the second piece is going to be y minus, y minus whatever my half of b was. I kept the minus there, sorry about that. And then don't forget that you need to, let me hide this real quick. You need to combine your like terms over here. And when you combine your like terms, you do need to get a common denominator. So I changed 45 over 2 into 90 over 4. And then I just added the numerators together. So 90 plus 1 plus 10 gives me a 100 over 4. And a 100 over 4 then reduces to 25. All right, so then I have my standard equation. Here's my standard equation, and from my standard equation then I can easily get my center and my radius. So my center is going to be at negative 1/2, positive 3/2, and my radius will be at 5. Example number 5. The directions here are a little bit different. It says to determine whether the graph is a point or if it's non-existent, and you could add to that, or is it a circle? So the only way that we can find this out is to get it back into standard form. So let's go ahead and take the time to get it into standard form. First thing that we'll do is to spread everything out, and then we'll start completing the square. So once again, let me duplicate that, and we'll start completing the square. Half of b is going to be negative 3. Negative 3 squared is going to be a 9, so we'll add 9 to both sides. And then on this one, half of b is going to be a positive 1. add positive, squared positive 1, which is going to be positive 1, add it to both sides, and you're adding 1 to both sides. Now let's go and factor on the left side. So as we factor, we're going to have an x minus 3 quantity squared plus a y plus 1 quantity squared. And remember, on the right side, let's combine our like terms, which is going to be a negative 2. Now, when you think about this, this looks like the normal standard equation. And so we would say, hey, our center is going to be at the coordinate 3, negative 1. The problem is you cannot have a radius that's negative. You can't go backwards. So since my radius value is negative, we would say that this particular equation is non-existent. There is no graph for this equation. And you say, well, what would cause it to be a point? If it were a point, and I'll kind of adjust this question for just a moment. If this said is equal to 0, then we would have our center, which would be at 3, negative 1, but then we would have no radius. So we would not be moving to the right, to the left, up, or down. And so this would be the occasion where my graph is just simply a coordinate or a point. All right, so that's going to be the end then of this video. There will be one more video that will finish out the notes, so stay tuned.